Nestled between the Mississippi and Ohio rivers in southern Illinois lies a land unassuming in natural beauty. The Prairie State often gets overlooked as a destination for potential adventure, but many would be surprised to find it teeming with forests, rolling hills, creeks, and rugged bluffs. Wind and rain from eons past patiently chiseled away the native sedimentary rock, forming some of the most grand geological features ever discovered. It was this pursuit of beholding these natural masterpieces that inspired a backpacking trip with a new friend that will not be soon forgotten. This is our story of the Garden of the Gods. I was accompanied on this adventure by Chad from the YouTube channel Beyond the Campfire. We crossed paths online over the shared trails we've hiked individually and decided to collaborate together for a 3-day trip at a brand new location. We started on December the 2nd at the Lusk Creek Wilderness Trailhead just north of the town of Eddyville, where we would travel approximately 9 miles and gain just over 450 feet in elevation, stopping to see notable features such as the Natural Bridge and the Saltpeter Cave before hopping onto the River to River Trail and camping along the ridgeline west of Hartsville. It was a very chilly morning, and was evident from the thick frost on the moss, Christmas ferns, and the formation of ice flowers on the low-lying vegetation. It didn't take us long to start to see remnants of human activity among this wilderness area. We stopped to see the wishing well, where the water was dark and ominous looking. Later, we passed an abandoned hayrake, which had an antiquated beauty to it next to the trail. Signs that winter had begun in the Midwest were beginning to appear with the sparkling ice along the creek beds. And we were starting to see glimpses of those sought-after rock features, with icicles draping the overhangs and alcoves like chandeliers. Yeah, it's like a root.
Yeah, I like that other one that's dry.
We had planned on taking the short detour to the Natural Bridge, but became hesitant when we discovered we had to ford Lusk Creek. It was some of the coldest water we've been in to date. We continued barefoot up the path to the bridge, which was reminiscent of one of the same name back home in Kentucky. The earth was warmer underneath, which felt like a haven after walking on frozen ground with wet feet. We had also planned to visit the Saltpeter Cave, but were unable to find an access point due to ice and the water level. Regardless, it was mesmerizing to see the turquoise blue water adjacent to the browns and the reds of the sandstone.
I'm not sure. At first I thought they were chanterelles, but they are not.
This place also made me feel like I was closer to a gateway to the west, with the pines being long and slender overhead, like so many I've seen in Montana and Colorado. After hiking along the dry leaf litter of the Illinois hardwoods, we began to realize that time was getting away from us on this first day. Between being distracted by the beauty, being lost in good conversation, and taking a couple wrong turns, the horizon's fading light was telling us we needed to find a plan B for our campsite. We gathered what water we needed for the night, and then started scouting for dry, flat, open ground. With dusk soon approaching, we managed to find a suitable site along the ridgetop overlooking Little Lusk Creek. It had running water, plenty of downed wood for a fire, and a large leaf bed to soften our tent floors.
I really like to do that. Oh yeah. Teamwork fire right there.
That's right. It's amazing how much a fire can transform a campsite. What once was a space filled with apprehension because of the unknown, now was filled with a transcendent warmth that opens your vision to see the hidden beauty and wonder tucked away in the unexpected. The night was filled with camaraderie and good spirit as we listened to the crackle of the wood and the howling of coyotes into the distance. We retired eager to see what the next day held in store. The frost that we awoke to caused us to break camp quickly and quietly. After finding a dry route to ford Little Lusk Creek, we gathered ourselves into an efficient gait that would last the duration of the day. We would continue along almost exclusively the river-to-river trail, veering off it briefly during a shortcut to One Horse Gap. We would pass through the gap, continue on through the town of Herod, and then enter the Garden of the Gods wilderness approximately 18 miles later. We were still early on in our day of hiking when we arrived at Bethesda Church. We spent several minutes there, maybe because we both treated it like a brief solace or an oasis of establishment, enveloped within the larger wilderness that we were now visitors of. We double-checked our maps again before embarking on the first of two major roadwalks for the day. Little did we know it would be full of interesting surprises.
We found an interesting species on the side of the road.
Dollar Americanus. Wild. We later discovered who the trail magic might have come from. We also deduced why the coyotes were howling so much the night before. After finding the correct detour trail, we made it to the One Horse Gap area. The landscape already felt drastically different, with the ancient bed of sandstone jutting out of the ground like a fortress of rock. We had a quick lunch on top of one of those slabs before a cold wind and a soft drizzle of sleet forced us to continue onward. The trail took us right through One Horse Gap, which reminded me of the tight squeeze through Fat Man's Misery at Natural Bridge State Park. For the remainder of the day, we were gifted with the backdrop of the striking rock features so unique to this part of the country. As we inched closer to the Garden of the Gods, they seemed to gradually dwarf us in size. Our sense of feeling small was further reinforced at a place called Rocky Top, where a sandstone cliffline opened up to the vast vista of Shawnee National Forest. The valley was lush with evergreens and rolling hills that blurred into oblivion. Rain was beginning to fall as we passed a large camp of deer hunters right before our next major road walk. We filtered the last water we would see for the day and then headed towards the town of Harrod. Harrod was a small town, a blip along the state highway. No sooner had we entered the main drag did the town disappear again for more wilderness just up the next ridge line. Our last climb of the day was by far the most difficult. We ascended several hundred feet from the valley at Harrod to the top of the main ridge of the Garden of the Gods. We were rewarded for our efforts, though, with clearing skies, golden hour light, and the discovery of a campsite unlike any other we've experienced. Haven't spoken much on this trip in front of the camera, but we have a campsite that might be one of the best of a lifetime so far. Got this great flat spot, a fire pit right next to this cliff. Then we come over here to the edge and we are on top of a sheer 200-foot cliff overlooking Shawnee National Forest. Absolutely incredible.
nicer, warmer months, it's really hard to get this campsite.
Oh, my bad. This campsite gave me new life for the rest of the evening. There was a sense of joy setting up camp, which can often feel like a chore, and I had renewed energy to explore the many vistas while we cooked our dinners and built a fire for the evening.
Down here, there's a little bit of a breeze.
We stayed by the fire and watched the sun disappear behind the horizon for several hours. Our conversation became ever seasoned, like the wood warming our aching bodies. It's a rare moment to share such a welcoming and picturesque campsite with good company. We tried to stay in that moment for as long as we could before calling it a night. Cheers with some bourbon to a great trip.
Yes, indeed.
It is even more rare in the life of a backpacker who seeks to travel many miles each day to have the opportunity for respite over a morning fire. The warmth that slowly removes the chill from the air and your bones feels like a shot of caffeine through the entire body. Chad and I basked in our temporary home with some extra coffee and conversation before embarking on our final but most scenic 8 miles.
Yeah, that one green trail, that little green connector trail that leads to the observation trail that has Noah's Ark.
Our final day had us briefly on the river-to-river trail before merging onto both the outer loop and the observation trails of the Garden of the Gods wilderness area. We would see renowned rock formations such as H Rock, Noah's Ark, and Camel Rock before arriving at Chad's car. H Rock was at the bottom of a canyon, parallel with a stream that is fed by Eagle Creek and Rocky Branch farther north. I can only imagine how large that H is at eye level compared to being suspended 30 feet up in the cleft of the canyon wall. The creek that we followed at the bottom of H Rock Canyon felt like ones I've walked beside in the Smoky Mountains, with so many moss-covered rocks, plentiful mushrooms thriving in the damp environment, and minnows swimming in the crystal clear water. We had to climb back out of the canyon before arriving to Noah's Ark. It was a brutal climb, and we stopped in a sunny spot along the ridge for a quick snack and to let the breeze dry us off. Noah's Ark leads you to a series of sandstone bluffs shaped in all different manners of animals found in the ancient biblical narrative. While I could only make out the head and shell of a turtle that I stood on, it was a powerful moment nonetheless to be on a precipice with sunlight and warmth to complement the natural beauty. Maybe another reason why it's called Noah's Ark is that the glow from the lichen-covered Liazagang rings look like they came from the thumbprint of God Himself. At long last, we finally made it to the main observation trail of the Garden of the Gods. We laced up our sense of adventure and began to scramble up the sandstone hoodoos for our grandest views yet. It seemed as though Mother Nature wanted to remind us how this area was formed, as she quickly introduced a severe wind and a bone-chilling cold that draped the overcast haze. It was that same wind and cold that slowly shattered the bedrock that we now stood on the edge of in wonder. I would have believed you if you told me I was teleported to another world. I felt like I was straddling the threshold between a supreme example of natural creation and a supernatural, almost extraterrestrial wasteland of an ancient land now forgotten. There are few places that have made me feel more removed from reality, yet connected to it, than these vistas I was gazing at in disbelief. As we came to the last bluff overlooking Campbell Rock, we realized that no adventure can last forever, no matter how grand. But it is the ending of an adventure that allows one to truly understand these fitting words penned by John Muir. Break clear away once in a while and climb a mountain or spend a week in the woods. Wash your spirit clean, because all the wild world is beautiful, and it matters but little where we go, to highlands or lowlands, woods or plains, on the sea or the land, through all the climates, hot or cold, storms and calms, everywhere and always we are in God's eternal beauty and love. So universally true is this, that the spot where we chance to be always seems the best. Well, that does it for backpacking in Shawnee National Forest. Thank you for coming along with both of us on this epic 35-mile adventure. Chad, any closing thoughts before we head back to the other trailhead about this trip?
I would just like to say that it wouldn't have been nearly as enjoyable without you there. So I really appreciate you coming along with me. After all my solo trips, it was nice to share the trail with somebody for once.
Yeah, we've been planning a trip together for seems like months now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I feel like I've gained another great backpacking partner and friend in general through this trip. So appreciate getting to know you, and can't wait for the next adventure that we do together.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words, and I'm definitely up for another one. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this.
Nothing would make me happier if you would go check out Chad's channel. His name is Beyond the Campfire on YouTube. He has some incredible content, and I think that you would really enjoy it. So the link is up here. Go check him out and give him some love. Really appreciate it. Till next time, get outside. It'll do you some good.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Reminds me of the little camp store. Meal. Chili dog and fudge shake.
This is what hiking dreams are made of.